Should companies be able to take out life insurance policies on their employees? Traditionally, companies have done this for, let's say, CEOs. But what about on their rank and file employees, maintenance workers, janitors? In fact, sometimes company-owned life insurance policies are called janitors insurance. Walmart, it turns out, took out life insurance policies on its maintenance workers, on its janitors, on its clerks, even without their knowing, so that when one of them died, the company would get the insurance payout, $300,000, let's say. How many are against? How many think there should be a law preventing companies from taking out policies on their rank and file workers? Why should this be prohibited?
If it's for an incredibly skilled employee like a CEO, that's one thing. However, if it's a rank and file, less skilled or unskilled employee, it's disrespectful.
Disrespectful to turn the death of an employee into an occasion for profit. That's what bothers you?
Yes.
I have no problem with having an insurance on the worker's life as long as the worker has explicitly agreed. But if it happens without worker's consent, I think it's problematic because it basically violates his right to, almost like he no longer disposes with the profit that is made from his body, like the fruits of his labor, if you want to call it.
The fruits of his labor, he's dying.
Like what he has produced so far belongs to him, so he has the right to give it to someone else.
I do acknowledge that it's a voluntary transaction between the insurance company and the corporation.
Right.
However, if the individual does not know that a life insurance policy is being taken out in his or her name, I have a problem with that, especially because the money that could go towards the family is going towards the corporation, and that's where I think the problem is.
You cannot take out life insurance on a person without the person's consent.
Why not?
Oh, that's very important.
Why is that?
That goes back hundreds of years. Because if you do that, you have an interest in the person's death, right?
That's right.
You take out a life insurance policy on another person, then you kill the person, and you get the proceeds.
But suppose the laws against murder are enforced.
The laws against nothing are 100% effective.
So Walmart should not be able to take out a life insurance policy.
No, it has to get the permission of the person whose life is being insured. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're talking here about the maintenance worker, the janitor, who won't be costly to replace. Should Walmart be able to take out a life insurance policy on his life?
If the person consents, why would the person care, right? You're not hurt.
I think you have to get deep into what consent is. My sense is that the consent of the worker is almost like a bribe, but that doesn't erase what's happening from your mind. So I would say I consented, because what was the alternative? So it seems to me there's a disembodied nature in the way you described it, which is they're just taking care of their actuarial cost benefit. But the question is, does it also alter the psychology of the human interaction?
I would be uncomfortable if an employer did that, but as long as you've got safeguards in place to make sure that their duty of care to their workers are upheld, it's difficult to make the case for making it illegal.
If you were such a worker and you suddenly discovered, as Walmart workers did when the Wall Street Journal exposed this practice, how would you feel?
I would ask a lot of questions of my employer as to why they were doing this and what risks they were mitigating, and I would want to have a conversation about it.
My exception to the insurance policy is that it sort of betrays the purpose of the insurance policy, which was to provide security in times of turnover or in providing security to the family. But here, it's almost like a form of alternative finance.
It's a kind of death bet or a financial instrument.
Right.
But why, if there's no coercion involved, and if no one's rights are being violated?
You sort of have a right to dignity. What comes along with that is the right to know when it's being compromised, and I think it's being compromised when you take out these life insurance policies.
And why is my dignity being compromised if, unbeknownst to me, someone else has taken out a life insurance policy on me and profits when I die? Why does that offend my dignity?
It's sort of an objectification. You have this relationship with your employer, and there's sort of a mutual understanding that you see each other as partners almost. And here you have your partner benefiting up to something like $500,000 for the benefit of your death. That's what I find repugnant.
Even if the company doesn't hasten my death by
Right.
closing the fire escapes in the
Right.
in the
Well, there's no
company or
immediate
factory.
harm in any case of objectification. It doesn't change the fact that we can find it repugnant.
Lindsay and Alex, you think that it's wrong for the company to take out life insurance policy on its janitors without their consent. Yes? If they had given consent, it would be okay?
I believe so. I think that because the janitor is so directly involved here, then I feel like it should be worded in their employment contract.
I don't think so. You will have to sign this contract even if you do not like the fact that after you die, the company will take your money instead of your family. But he has no other option. Somebody who works at Walmart, they have to work there at very, very little wages. So I doubt how much of an accurate consent does that worker have in this case.
But this argument that automatically makes Walmart obliged to sign a life insurance that gives money to them.
Walmart should not treat that person as an asset or as an object and take money of their death. They should pay for their services, but should not buy their life and bet on it.
I disagree with that completely. I think that's based on an assumption that's not true. You believe that Walmart is the only employment option for these people, which in labor markets is not the case.
Hang on. The debate about consent is a familiar debate. It's similar to ones we've had before about whether people who are poor can truly give their consent under certain circumstances. So that's one issue. But I want to get back to this question about whether the company should have to get the consent of the worker in order to take out a life insurance policy. Suppose I'm the worker, and some third party decides to take out a life insurance on me. In effect, to enter into a bet with someone else about when I will die. I've not consented, maybe I don't even know about it. Why does that side bet on my life in any way violate my rights or do me harm, Alex?
Well, because they're profiting from you and they do not have your consent, I don't see how it is okay for someone to be betting on my life without having my agreement on it.
I agree. I think that the idea of consent is crucial here.
Why? What harm is done to you? If Kevin and Jamie know that you have 2 job offers, Lindsay, they're speculating on which one you will choose, and one of them wins that bet, wins $100. Have they violated your rights?
I'm not sure if it's about rights, but I would be uncomfortable if other people are profiting from my experiences without me having a say in it.
And why is that?
I just think that I would have to be informed on that.
So if they told you, Lindsay, we've got a bet going about which job offer you'll take, and that's fine?
And I said, okay, I think that's fine. Again, I think consent is crucial.
And why?
Individuals have a right, perhaps, to say what other people can have a stake in you.
Don't you think you'll be treated like a casino when somebody bets on you?
If I am consenting to it, then no, of course not.
Either way, whether you consented or not, people are still playing on you, they're gaming on you.
I don't have a problem with the commodification if consent is given.
Most states have now enacted laws requiring consent of the worker before the company can take out life insurance policy. Suppose those laws are in place. Let's assume the consent is not coerced, and let's assume that Walmart can't create hazards in the workplace or fail to enact health and safety measures. Some of you still think it's objectionable.
Yeah, of course.
Kevin, why?
It's offensive to shared community values. But I would argue that we do all agree upon a certain conception of certain rights which we are all entitled to.
Kevin, what right is being violated?
It's a certain type of human dignity which involves some conception of liberty and life mixed together, I believe.
But they're not killing you and they're not depriving you of your liberty.
But I don't feel, as a fully respected and dignified human being.
So it's a matter of dignity.
It is a matter of dignity.
By making you as a worker more valuable dead than alive, they affront your dignity.
And that dignity is based in my rights to life and liberty.
Nicole.
We treat life and death with an enormous amount of respect. We have lots of cultural practices that are associated with the transition from life to death. And one of those is like utmost respect for the family. It's a type of community bonding, and this seems to undermine that by somebody profiting when you die. And
So
it's not
what
like
about
All right,
a
Jamie.
government who provides pensions, where if you die at 70, we only have to provide pensions for X years. If you die at 90, we have to provide pension for X plus 20 years. They're directly profiting from you dying sooner.
Jamie raises a hard counterexample. Governments that run pension funds have an interest in people dying sooner rather than later. And not only governments, but also private pension funds and annuities that are committed to a certain payout over a lifetime. Is that morally questionable?
because the pension so directly benefits the worker, I'm, I think, more willing to let that slide. But I really see why you brought that up.